Hey guys, welcome back to Live on RealiTEA with Trisha and Kylie on the Russell Hand Show. We're going to have all of the latest live feed updates from last night on Big Brother. So, this is a spoiler show. We're bringing you some hot tea on the latest strategy talk, the latest meltdowns that are being had in the house. So, if you are wanting to stay spoiler free, then you will need to leave this broadcast now. But for those of you that are here for all of the tea, you know the drill. Go ahead, drop some comments. We'll be addressing those questions as we go through our updates. So, Kylie, what's been going on in the Big Brother house?
Well, the biggest thing is campaigning Keisha. So we know that the nomination stayed the same after the veto ceremony, and Keisha is trying to campaign to some of her house guests, but her campaigning is really, really bad. Um,
No.
yeah, so where she should be trying to convince people why it's a good idea to keep her, she's throwing out some pretty lame excuses like, I won't eat your food, so if you keep me, then we'll have lots of things to eat. But instead, Janelle's trying to campaign for her. And Janelle's hitting on the points that we would hope that Keisha would hit on. So Janelle is having a conversation with Nicole Anthony, and she brings up that Keisha is going to work with the girls. So if she stays in the house, she will be going after the guys. And she um, brings up that Kevin is a threat because of how he played on his previous season. And one of the ways that he was able to get Big Jeff evicted from the house was by making up this great lie about him. And so Janelle is really putting it out there that low key, Kevin is a very good strategic player. So
So
we're not
Janelle
seeing we're
Janelle
not
is doing
seeing
all the
it.
things that Keisha should be doing.
Right. Absolutely. So
That's
Keisha is
disappointing.
struggling, and every conversation that she has, people are telling her that they haven't made up their mind and no one's really talking game yet. And that's absolutely not the case. They're just not talking game with her. So
She should
Keisha
know
is just
better. She
right.
should know better.
She's not reading the room very well. Like, girl, if everybody tells you the exact same thing, you've got to clue in that things are not going in your favor. And as of right now, I really think that she thinks she's staying. So,
Ooh, that's tough. Poor Keisha.
yeah.
Well,
I
I
was
mean,
really
hey,
excited.
we'll see how campaign Keisha goes with Janelle. We know Janelle can pull some weight, so honestly, it'd be really impressive if Janelle's able to pull this off.
Yeah, I was excited to see Keisha play again, but honestly, if she's just not gonna put more effort into it, then she can probably just go on and leave because she's just there taking up space. All of her conversations center around pets. She's like a walking advertisement for PETA, which is great. It's wonderful to be all about pets, but girl, you're playing Big Brother.
There's
What are
no
you
pets, and
doing?
she's just here for those puppies that pop up on the screens.
Right, she would do a really good voiceover like, "This puppy is now available to be adopted. He is looking for a home. Please
This is
contact
Oscar.
the animal shelter if you are interested." So she's not bringing it with the game talk. Janelle's doing the campaigning for her, but it's a losing battle. I think it's pretty well locked in. Kevin's going to be staying. Keisha's going to be leaving.
So right
So,
now, if we're looking at the votes right now, it's Keisha possibly has a vote to stay from Janelle, and then everyone else is voting for Kevin to stay.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that Janelle will end up going with the house, not being the sole vote to keep Keisha. There's no reason for her to stick her neck out there. So things are not looking good for Keisha unless she turns it up in the next 36 hours before eviction night.
Oh, golly. All right. Well, we'll see, I guess, what happens with Keisha. So,
Yeah,
moving
it's
on
not
from the
looking good.
feeds of Janelle, talking about Keisha, Janelle's also making another connection that I think we're all fond of. Jan
Yes,
Anthony.
Jen Anthony, they seem to have a little friendship that's blooming. And you look at the two of Nicole Anthony and Janelle, and they look like such polar opposites. You know, you've got Janelle, who is just this beautiful woman. She's iconic. But her and Nicole have bonded, and she actually spent a lot of time on the feed yesterday doing Nicole's makeup. And
Ah.
this is something Nicole's not as familiar with, and I understand because I don't wear makeup, but if I was in the house, I would sit there for hours and let Janelle do my makeup. Like, what a dream to have your idol, one of the people you've looked up to playing this game, doing your makeup. So they're definitely having some fun bonding together like that. And I just think it's good for Janelle, who sometimes comes across a little reserved and maybe that she doesn't want to associate with everyone. I think it's good for her to make a connection with someone that's so different from her in
Hmm.
a non game way.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And for those of you that are watching, you can see that Nicole gave us a little pop at the camera so we could see the makeup she's done. And I think Janelle did an awesome job. Was there any
Yeah, she
strategy
looks really
talk
beautiful.
during this? Like,
No, no, there was just yesterday, there was a lot of the house guests just having a good time with each other. There was some strategy talk here and there, but for the most part, there was a lot of this bonding for them as a group, not really a whole lot of strategy, mainly because Keisha's not even hardly campaigning, and everyone is pretty much assuring Kevin that he's there. So they're having a real chill time in the Big Brother house because nothing's happening. But if you want to talk about something that is happening is on Twitter, things are popping between previous house guests. We've got Swaggy C throwing shade at JC. Derek Lavasser did an Instagram live where he addresses the rumors, some rumors that don't have anything to do with Big Brother 22, but then also some of the rumors about him pre-gaming with Nicole and Cody. So the BB Twitter world has it going on,
yeah, the
even
house
if
is.
the house is not not popping right now.
Yeah, I mean, other than our conflict with, Nicole and Janelle happening earlier this week of Nicole just doesn't like Janelle for whatever reason, doesn't like anything she does. It's like that meme that's like, that bitch chewing on a cracker annoys me. Like everything about, Janelle annoys Nicole F.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the Twitterverse definitely has it going on. Where I know we saw Swaggy C popping off to JC about, but JC made some comments about Bailey,
Yeah, about Bailey throwing a fit and um,
how she'll get her
just
way. Maybe she'll whine her way to the top, or that's what JC's comment is. And Bailey's, I mean, Swaggy is not having it. He's defending his woman.
yeah, he is here to bring honor to his wife's name. He's not having it from JC, calls him a clown. So, if only the house happenings at this point were as exciting as the out of house happenings, there would be a lot going on. But I'm just, until the first eviction and the next HOH, I think things are just going to kind of stay pretty surface level. There's some relationships forming, there's some bonds, but
There's some also not relationships forming that they're just going like this. Yeah, it'll be
yeah,
interesting to see how those play out.
yeah. So also in the Big Brother house last night, they finally got alcohol. They've been asking producers for a week now for them to get some alcohol. They even complained that on the premiere night they didn't even have champagne to toast each other. So they've not had any alcohol. And Big Brother finally came through. They gave them 12 alcoholic drinks to share between the 16 house guests. So they did get some wine and some beer, and it we were hopeful that this was going to get things moving in the house, and while some of the house guests did appear to get a little tipsy, they were not really spilling anything, having a loose tongue with the alcohol, but
Letting
we're hopeful.
those sober thoughts come out in drunken words.
Yeah, exactly. So no big revelations from drunken tirades. They spent a lot of time hanging out in the backyard, a little strategy talk here and there. They did bring up that I guess on Tuesdays they will have their COVID testing. So that was all performed. They didn't talk about like if they're rapid test results or what. That is a little bit of an interesting note because if anybody does test positive, I imagine that this is going to stop
Shut
the
down
game in its
production.
track. Yeah, shut down. None of us want that to happen. So hopefully, all the measures they've taken are keeping the house guests safe. If
Yeah,
something came back,
one of the things that happened on the feeds last night also was speaking of COVID testing. So, there if any of you've looked or you may or may not be aware, but Big Brother is really doing everything they can to prevent any of these house guests from getting COVID. It's like they don't have interaction with producers. It took them longer to get in the backyard because they were desanitizing everything after production is taking down, the veto comp and stuff like that. So it just they're really doing everything they can and taking every measure to, you know, put a line between cast and production.
yeah.
But last night we saw on the feeds that Ian found he was like sitting on a couch and he was like, "Oh, what is this?" And it was a walkie-talkie. And feeds cut right after that. So,
Whoops.
and a little oopsies there.
Yes,
Um,
someone in production left their walkie-talkies. I
they're
mean,
looking for that.
yeah, I wonder if they were like hearing the crackling, like, what is that?
Yeah.
Good thing that they weren't spilling any secrets or like having a live listen in on someone's DR.
Yeah. That would have been.
That could have been bad, but luckily it didn't go too badly. Also, last night, have-nots came to an end. So at midnight, our four house guests that were have-nots were able to eat. That's the first time in the whole since they have moved into the house that those four house guests have gotten to have any food. So they were counting down till cookies and pizza and very excited to finally get some real food in them. The slop has been rough.
The slop has been rough. So Ian has been really sick from the slop. Who else? There's someone else that's
Nicole
been.
Anthony's been really
Yes,
sick.
they have just been sick from this slop, y'all. Like Ian has like pretty much just spent most of his time sitting by the bathroom because he has not felt good. So I know that they're extra happy
Toe
to be
up.
toe up from the flow up. So
Yeah.
could you imagine
So
being in that house, like not only dealing with I would be sick anyway, just from
yeah,
anxiety,
like
but,
nerves.
being on slop that makes you sick to your stomach would suck.
Yeah, that would be really, really miserable. So I just can't even imagine.
Yeah, and one thing that was noted about additional about slop was Danny's birthday is next week on Thursday on eviction day. So she's like, she's gonna be pissed if she gets put up. If she has to see Julie on her birthday, she is not happy about it. But she also said she does not want to be a have not next week because it's her birthday week.
Yeah, so I think that everyone will agree. I don't think we'll see Danny going up as a have not. That would be pretty cutthroat and just kind of mean to put that girl through that on her birthday, especially whenever she is a fairly new mom and she's spending that time away from her daughter. I just think that psychologically that could be a lot to put on her to be a have not and then just the stress of being in the house away from her family. So we'll see what happens, but I think she's probably gonna be able to avoid that.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't strategically, it was maybe her threats last night of telling everyone, "Do not put me on the block or I'll kill you."
Yeah.
So
We also get a check in with Ian and Nicole Franzel. They have their Millions Club Alliance, hoping to become the first millionaires from Big Brother and become the two-time winners. And while they're sitting on the hammock, Ian talks about how he's just really trying to downplay his intelligence. And if you look at Ian and listen to him, you know how smart he is. And so I'm sure it's probably extremely hard for him to downplay that, but throwing a little shade at Nicole Franzel, we might tend to do that from time to time. Nicole also chips in that she's trying to downplay her intelligence. So
Yeah. I don't know. It's not that we I mean, I think Nicole is a smart girl. She wouldn't have won if she wasn't smart. She did give a great finale speech, and I think that's one of the huge reasons she won. We also know she's a
mhm.
nurse outside of this, so it's not that I don't think she isn't smart. But I wouldn't say she of all people needs to downplay her intelligence.
Right. Like she gives off Ian gives off different vibes from Nicole Franzel.
Right. Definitely.
Nicole
Like
comes across just much more
rounded, like not like,
well
she's
rounded.
gonna win
Yeah,
every memory comp and things like that, where Ian, it's like,
right.
if we
Very
kn
very
yeah,
normal.
yeah,
And
so
that's not shade actually. It's not bad to just be normal, but probably just not on that same level intellectually as Ian. So I think Nicole's probably safe. She doesn't need to downplay her intelligence that much. I don't think anyone is overly threatened by it. So,
yeah, right, right, right. So, nice of her to agree with Ian on this conversation, but maybe not totally necessary. Alright, so speaking of the Nicoles, we have another issue with Nicole Franzel and Nicole Anthony.
yeah, so Taylor slash Tyler, um, he he is in
Taylor,
several of
Tyler, Trevor.
yeah, Taylor, Tyler, Trevor, same person. He is in this six-person alliance, or supposed to be in this six-person alliance with the three guys, Memphis, Cody, and him, and then Nicole Franzel, Christmas, and Danny. But Christmas and Tyler are having a conversation, and Tyler admits that he doesn't know which Nicole is supposed to be in their alliance. So I'm sure that in Tyler's mind, he had this one of these most dominating alliances on BB20 with level 6, and now he's in this alliance and he doesn't even know all of the group members. And so he doesn't know, like, should I go up and talk game to Nicole Anthony or to Nicole Franzel? Like, what do I do?
If one of them it would have been so good if one of them started talking the wrong one started talking to him,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, yeah, like, don't you like, that we had that conversation, the other day, da, 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 da," and that's the total wrong Nicole. Like,
Yeah,
let's
that
just hope he
caught in the headlights look on his face of, "Oh no."
"What what have I done?"
Yeah, and so I really feel like this group that Memphis is trying to force together, they're just not gelling. They haven't gotten all together. Whereas like the level 6 alliance, they came together so naturally. Everybody just fit together. This
Yeah.
group that Memphis is trying to do, and the way that he's done it with, well, I'm going to have this conversation, but not ever even having three or four of them together, it's not going to
He's
work.
just one by one going to these different people, and he's like, "Alright." So he's like the middle and the star of
Right, exactly. He's
people.
got all these points, but all the points aren't connected back. So I don't think it's going to be successful. I don't think that that's going to be the group that is running the house. We are seeing a group of four that are pretty solid, and that is the alliance now known as Connect Four. So who are we seeing in Connect Four?
I think David's in this it's Davon, Bailey, Enzo, and Cody, right?
Right. So I kind of like this group working together. They're all really social, really good with bringing people in and having strong bonds with people. I don't know competitively necessarily how they're going to do. I know that Enzo did win that first veto, but historically he hasn't been a very strong competitor in the different competitions. So I don't know if that group is going to be able to pull out the wins that they need, but as personalities, I kind of like these four together.
Yeah, what I'm really thinking about is like how is Cody keeping up with every alliance that he's in? Because he's in
Right.
multiple like facets of alliances with different people. And
Sure. Like he kind of has like a ride or die with Tyler. He's got his thing going with Danny and Nicole F, and then the sixth person, and then the Connect Four. So Cody's got his hands in all the baskets, which is the perk of being the first HOH. And if he can come out of it without a very big target on his back, then I think that was pretty successful.
yeah, there's always that like, do you want to win it the first HOH? And every time like past house guests are interviewed, they always say like, no, like I would not want to win the first HOH. That puts such a big target on your back. We've seen it fail a few times, and yeah, I mean, this could be really great for Cody or really bad for Cody. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think in the long run, I don't think anyone is overly upset with the two people that he put up. So I personally think he's going to come out of his HOH pretty good. He does have the conversation with Kaser where he does not feel very safe with Kaser. And he straight up tells Kaser that he's going to compete in the safety suite competition next week because why wouldn't he? He's so worried about the target he created. So he's going ahead and throwing it out there. So, a little strategy there that if Kaser does win HOH, don't come after me, bro, because I am definitely going for that safety. So I think he's just putting it out there. There is a high likelihood that Kaser does win HOH. And so it'll be interesting. I think if we see a Kaser or a Janelle HOH, I think the party's going to be hopping because they are all going to be swapping their little access cards, trying to get in there and win safety. And I think we're going to see a lot of people burn it this week because most of the
they're
house is
worried.
they're not feeling good with Janelle and Kaser.
Right. And there's also that strategy you have to think about of like who goes and tries to swipe their card to get in the safety suite, and
Yeah.
do you don't want them to be safe. So it next week is gonna I think it's gonna be really interesting to see how the safety suite plays a role. It was great this week. I mean, it worked out in our favor as fans of the show, other than Janelle playing on accident, we think. But
Right.
yeah, interested in seeing what happens next week.
And that is, you bring up the point of if Kaser becomes HOH or vice versa, if Janelle is HOH, there's not that defense that they can play with the safety suite. So if they set their sights on somebody, they don't have that backup of, okay, well, we want to get Cody out and Cody's going to the safety suite. I'm going to go play two and try to beat him.
Right.
So there's no defense there. It's going to be up for grabs.
Yeah, the
And
HOH
it'll
can't
be
play,
interesting.
but
It's always
yeah, it would be like if Enzo wins, Janelle could have played, or
right.
vice versa if they hadn't have played this week.
Right. But they've both burned there, so not much they can do there.
Yeah,
Um,
so it'll be
so
this week will be interesting to
Yeah,
see,
it will be
and
interesting. We do have the show coming up tonight, and that is going to show the veto competition. We do have a question over here about I heard Enzo knock down something of Keisha's during the veto. Is that true? And from what they're saying, I don't think it was an intentional thing. It sounds like they were doing the veto comp, like where they had to stack all the things and get to a certain number, but they only have like 60 seconds to do it before they have to go back and hit their timer. And I think just in the chaos of running back and forth, Enzo's stack falls and knocks Keisha's over. There has been like the Keisha Gate 2020 uh, change.org
change.org.
petition out there. Yeah, so if anybody's out there trying to get that petition signed, you may want to check that out, but I don't think it's going to be very successful. It'll be interesting to see if CBS even shows it tonight. I would imagine that they're not, that they don't even show Keisha Stack being knocked over, but I don't think it's anything intentional, just a hazard of the game.
For sure. So I'm excited for the live show tonight. So they're going to show, it'll end with the power veto ceremony. So
Yeah, it'll end with the power
excited.
veto. Tomorrow we get our first live eviction. that's when hopefully things are really going to turn up and we're going to get some good stuff. We do want to bring y'all our tweet of the day, and today we actually have co-tweets of the day because we found two that were just really funny. Two past house guests bringing it on Twitter and entertaining us. So, which
Tweet
one are we going to share
tweet
first?
number 1 for tweet number 1, just going off order that they appeared on our feed in, is from Rachel Swindler, previous Big Brother house guest Rachel. Posted this hilarious TikTok, so we're going to pop it up on the screen for everyone to see.
One day watching Big Brother. My voice 2 days watching Big Brother. My voice 3 days watching Big Brother. Previously on Big Brother. Chaos ensues when Cody wins HOH.
I think that's so funny. I know every time the episodes come on, I am ready for that Big Brother. And so I think it's so fun that Rachel still keeps up with the show so closely and is out there putting out some really fun stuff. So you can check out her Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. She's does super funny impressions. And so there's some interesting stuff out there. Our other co-tweet of the day is from Spencer from BB15, and he's throwing some shade out there at the house guests. The weakest half of some of the best duos in BB history are in the house. Can they step out from the shadows of their former partners? And we've got the picture of Derek referencing Cody and Dan referencing Ian and Evil Dick and Danny and the better half of the Christmas Scooter Alliance, the Scooter.
Drum roll.
Yeah, so
We're all missing that Scooter this season.
right. Another question that we have is what do we think about Christmas and how she's doing in the house right now? I don't think Christmas is doing badly in the house. She's making some connections, but Christmas is relying on her ability to compete well in the competitions. She plans to just kill it in the next HOH. She's so excited to compete. You know, this is going to be really like one of the first times where she's going to get an entire week to compete in her true form. So she's ready to beast it out, but connections wise, she's doing okay.
And there's another comment in our feed about you think the next HOH is endurance, which would be great to see Christmas play in an endurance comp.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's a pretty decent chance that we're going to get an endurance comp. I love watching them play out on the feeds. I mean, since we are bringing in all of these old school house guests, I would love to see some old endurance comps. Anyone have one in mind that would be great?
Well, they haven't played this one in a few seasons, but it's not as, I don't know if I would consider endurance, but the one where they have to like get the ball through the fence and like to the
Oh,
thing,
yeah, yeah.
that one's always interesting to see play out because, I mean, you can be a really physical player and do terrible at that comp. That one,
Right.
it's kind of luck, but also kind of strategy of how you're getting it through the fence.
Your hands are there. It's probably easier for girls. Well, I'm thinking, you know, we saw the showdown in BB6 of the endurance comp, the pressure cooker, where Kaser stood for 14 hours pressing a button. He is convinced to let it go and doesn't throw the HOH, but steps back, doesn't win the HOH, and in turn is evicted. So I would love to see the pressure cooker as the HOH competition this week. We'll see whether or not it's endurance, but I'm hoping that we get to see some old comps for sure.
Alex agrees with you, pressure cooker.
Pressure cooker. Yes, we all want it. I want to see. I'm sorry. I know that people don't like the competitions that take like 7 or 8 hours, but if they will bring us the live feeds, I don't care. I will watch some people stand there for 14 hours. Like, I want to see people that really want it. And, you know, like so many times now, those endurance comps are done in 2 hours. That's a good one. And like
Yeah.
last year, whenever they did the slippery soap one and finished the whole comp in like 30 minutes. We didn't even
Yes.
get to see any of it. I don't like that. I want to see the endurance comps. I want them to fight it out. And if they really want it, especially when we have Janelle and Kaser in a position where it would be very helpful for them to win, I think that seeing a competition that comes down to will, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on board with that too. So, we'll see. I wanna see these all-stars want that money. So,
Right, for sure.
and I have just one hot take that I can't resist. Before we close, I have to share that you guys know I am on board with Davon and David, the Davoned showmance that I'm just putting out into the universe. Um, Last night on the feeds, we caught Davon fixing David's hair, and I mean, not saying that there's anything there, but
David's
I'm just saying
smile
how
does look
you
pretty
look
happy.
look how genuine both of their smiles are. David is so happy. So
Yeah,
I'm
that
here
that could
for
be a
it.
cute little thing. We'll
I-
see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
So, I mean, y'all can just pretty much know that every time anything happens with Davon and David, I'm going to be sure to share it on this show because I'm so here for it.
You're Christy this year manifesting it. You're
I'm
manifesting it into the
manifesting it.
universe.
For sure, for sure. All right, guys. So thanks for joining us today as we spilt the tea. If you're looking for more great content and updates between shows, please be sure to check out our IG and Twitter handles, and I'll pop them up on the screen here for you guys. You can check us out on IG, Instagram, and Twitter at reality underscore TRHS, which is RealiTEA underscore TRHS for the Russell Hand Show. We also have a Facebook page for anyone wanting to join our Facebook community. That's reality.trhs. And don't forget to subscribe to the Russell Hand Show here on YouTube. They will give you the updates so that you know when we're going live and when Russell has a new show out. And if you're looking for any more exclusive content, just don't forget to check out those Instagram, Twitter, subscribe, drop comments below, and we will see you guys tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central Time to give you the latest update on the feeds and all the tea. Cheers, Kylie.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.